Hey, it's Friday, which means it's another episode of People Like You. My name is Emmanuel Osaseri, your online personal trainer and wellness coach. And today I am met with a very special guest, Miss Tracey Crawford. So I've known Tracey for about 3 years or so at the plant, and worked on different injuries. And when you work on somebody's injuries throughout the years, you get to know about them, what they like to do. So Tracey likes to do triathlon. She's very active. She's also into cooking. So we'll get into all this stuff in a little bit. But for now, go ahead and introduce yourself, Tracey.
Well, hi, my name is Tracey Crawford.
Tell us a little something about yourself.
Well, I am a triathlete, and I like to swim, bike, and run. And I don't know what else to say.
That's perfectly fine. We'll get started then. So tell us how you got into doing triathlons. Where did that start?
Well, it kind of started back in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize it at the time, but I was kind of in a depression.
Right.
And I had been in depression for about 6 months, and I was the heaviest I'd been, and I was really unhappy with my job, and I was just miserable. And I decided that I needed to make a change. And with a friend invited me to go walk on the bluffs one day, and I thought, well, I just got to get out of the house and do something. So I did, and I got there, and she said, oh, by the way, we don't walk on top of the bluffs, we walk down the bluffs.
Holy smokes.
And I called her a name that I call people when I'm not happy with them. And she dragged my rear end down the bluffs and back up the bluffs, and it was really hard. And it took me, it was probably just a couple mile route.
Right.
And it probably took me like an hour and 15 minutes, and I had to stop every few feet and just take a breath, and I thought I was going to die. And it was horrible and it was hard, but when I was done, I was so proud of myself for doing that. And so we just started doing that like 3 times a week, and then I just saw my stamina start building, and I started losing some weight, and then we did a boot camp, which was even more horrible and awful, but I kept seeing that I kept getting stronger and stronger, and then I started running. And well, I'll say running, but what I do is more like shuffling with style.
Right.
Super slow. It's like a jog. Fast walkers still pass me. But I started running, and then me and my sister, after a 5K, we're talking about what we'd like to do in the future. And she's like, well, I'd like to run a half marathon. And I said, well, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to do a triathlon. And she's like, oh no, we don't want to do a triathlon. That's too hard. Right. And my bubble was instantly burst. Wow. And so, but she said, you know what? My friend told me about these things called sprint triathlons. And I'm like, well, what's a sprint triathlon? She's like, well, it's like a triathlon. It's just shorter. So I went home immediately, got on my computer, and Googled sprints triathlon. And I looked at the distances, and I thought, with some training, I could probably do this.
Right.
Even though I didn't know how to swim and had never ridden a bike with gears, I thought, maybe I can do this.
Right.
So I Googled triathlon training, and up came the Team in Training. And Team in Training is the fundraising arm of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
Right.
My grandfather passed away from leukemia and lymphoma, so I thought it was kind of like kismet.
For sure.
And in exchange for fundraising for them, they teach you how to do endurance events.
Okay.
Like half marathon, full marathon, 100-mile bike rides, and triathlons. So I signed up with Team in Training, and I got 2 awesome coaches, and they taught me how to swim, and they taught me how to ride a bike, and they taught me how to run better, and I completed my first triathlon, and it was an amazing experience to cross the finish line doing something I never thought I'd ever be able to do.
For sure.
And I was hooked.
That's perfect. That's a ton to unpack. There's so many different directions to go there. I want to backtrack a little bit though, because some of the conversations that we've had in the office, you're a very self-motivated. You're a grinder. So I think you've even shared, like, you haven't been the most athletic person.
Right.
You haven't been the most physically gifted person.
Right. But
you're a grinder. You have heart and you're a grit, and that's why I thought you're just perfect for this podcast, because it's the People Like You podcast, and people need to hear that. Hey, you don't need to be
right
to get started.
When I played sports when I was in school, I don't have any God-given athletic ability. But I was always the one on the team that gave it 200%.
For sure.
I got the sportsmanship award, or the Try Hardest award, and because I just didn't really have any talent, but I had the want to.
Right, for sure. So I want to go back into when you suggested that you wanted to try the triathlon. You said it was your sister, right? That
She was the one that told me about the sprint triathlons.
Okay, so did you already know how to swim at that point? What brought you, first of all, what brought you to that point where you just go from, oh, okay, I'm just going to go from walking 1 mile on the bluffs to, let's try triathlon now, let's see how that goes.
Well, that's kind of my personality. You know, when I want to do something, I jump head first, right? And I don't always know, you know, what I'm jumping into.
For sure.
I had never ridden a bike with gears, and I could swim. I mean, I wouldn't drown,
right,
but I couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
I could only go as far as I could hold my breath.
Right.
So they had to teach me how to breathe in water, and you know, then I had to practice endurance. So you know, I was really, the only thing I really knew how to do was run, and not very well. But
right.
So they had to kind of teach me how to do everything.
But you gradually got better. How many triathlons have you done, by the way?
Well, my first one was 2016, and I kind of lost track, but it's been over 30 by now.
30?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I thought you were going to say like 5.
No, my second year I got got a little obsessive, and I did 15 in that year.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. So with that being said, share about how the steps progressively got easier. I can imagine your first one was a lot harder than your 30th one, for example.
Well, yeah, you know, it's just what I found about triathlon, and I'm sure this is true with most long endurance events, is a lot of it is your mind. Right? Because your body your legs won't stop. It's your head that tells you your legs to stop.
Right.
You know?
For sure. And I even did a video on mind muscle contraction, and how our brains, the way our central nervous system works, is that our brains control our movement, our bodies pretty much, and so that's right on.
Right. Well, I had some really awesome coaches that, you know, when I started the pity party thing and I'm crying on the bike because it's getting hard, they, you know, kind of gave me a swift kick in the butt. They didn't baby me. They're like, I went on a ride with a friend who was a very experienced triathlete who's she's a phenomenal, and she took me on this really difficult bike ride, and it was way more difficult than I should have tried.
How'd that turn out?
Well, about halfway there, I said, I'm done. The first 7 miles is straight up.
Uphill.
A mountain, a very large mountain. And I got halfway there and I'm like, I'm done. And she just looked at me and said, well, you're halfway either way from the car.
Word. And since you started uphill, then the second half should be easier.
Unless I turn back.
Unless you turn back, yeah, then that would be crazy.
So, I had people with me that didn't, you know, said, you know, that they're not going to baby you, said, you know, you gotta get to the finish.
Yeah, for sure. That's so interesting. I'm personally learning how to swim. I know I've asked you for tips and stuff, because I want to be able to do a triathlon myself, and so just like the breathing techniques. Actually, was it different to train for each one? Because I just made a video last week as far as how to train specifically for different activities. So just because you're a sprinter doesn't mean that you can run long distance and vice versa. How was that changed?
You're right, because the first thing you do when you get in the water is you just want to get to the other side of the pool as quickly as you can. But when you're doing an endurance event, you can't go out fast or you're going to just die and you're not going to finish.
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to hold some back. You have to learn how to hold some back on the swim. You have to learn how to hold back some on the bike, or you're going to, if you just go hard and fast on the bike, you're going to burn your legs out and have nothing left for the run.
For sure.
So you do have to learn how to reserve, and then you train your body. You start small and increasing, and you train your body to recover.
Yeah.
So it's not a second wind, it's a third wind, it's a fourth wind, it's a fifth wind, right? However many winds it takes you to get to the finish. Yeah,
that's insane. I'm excited. I'm actually going to be speaking at your triathlon club tomorrow night, and I talked to your coach, and I had to do some research as far as like the mind of the triathlete and stuff. You mentioned like you guys are notorious for having IT band problems and stuff like that, so I'm super excited for that opportunity. As you've become so active with these events, how has it impacted you personally? Your sleep, your mood, the way you carry about work. How's it affected Tracey for the better?
Well, my mood has improved greatly. I mean, all the way from a deep depression to super
Yeah.
happy about life.
Yeah.
And that just the energy, my energy level has increased, 10 times, 100 times. Can't even tell you how much. And because on those long workout days, work my body out so hard that when I sleep hard, I
Yeah.
sleep well.
Yeah.
So my sleep has actually been better too.
Right. And how is your support team? Because a lot of people, when they start out, they don't know whether they should just start by themselves. For me, I was able to start by myself, getting active and stuff, and then I met people along the way. But there's others who may be more comfortable with the support buddy or something like that. So how has your support system helped you to kind of get active on this like extreme journey that you're on?
Right. Well, when I signed up for my first triathlon, I didn't know anybody.
Oh, you did it yourself?
I did it myself. Well, I did it with I did it with Team in Training, but I didn't know anybody when I walked into that
Right.
first Team in Training meeting, right?
Right.
So, but then I got connected with people who I could, ride bikes with them and, and run with them and train with them. But there was times when I had to get out there by myself and do it. So you kind of have to have some self-motivation going on because you're not always going to have somebody to train with.
Right.
And when you're on race day, there's not going to be somebody beside you the whole time. So you have to be able to do some of this by yourself because most of the people, 99.9% of the people that I train with are way faster than me.
Right.
So I'm all the way in the back, I'm the caboose, and there's many times I have been the absolute last person across the finish line, but I finish.
And that's where and I like that because that's where you say the mental aspect comes. It's so easy to get discouraged, like even having thoughts like, what am I doing out here? We've all been there.
Every single time I'm in a triathlon and I know I'm either the last or the last one out there, it's a mental beat down. And I'm doing it to myself, right? I'm like, what are you doing out here? You're the last one, this is embarrassing, why are you even doing this? And then you just have to kind of push that aside and, just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And, once you cross the finish line, then you're like, okay, well, what race can I sign up for next, right?
For sure.
But yeah, it's a mental trip.
Yeah, no doubt. And the beautiful thing about it is at the end of the day, the one thing you can all say in common is, I'm a triathlete. At the end of the day, it's impressive to me, regardless. It's kind of like running a marathon. Like, it took you 6 hours, 7 hours, you still ran 26 miles.
You still ran the same course that the guy that did it in 2 hours and a half.
Right, and just starting and getting yourself in a mindset that says, I'm going to try this and see where I measure up. I'm going to try this and do this. I'm going to try, whether I finish last or not. That's...
Right. It is, you definitely have to have a strong mind. When you go into a race and you know the chances are very high that you are going to be the last one across the finish line, a lot of people are just like, I don't want to,
Yeah.
I don't want to be the last one, right? So
Right.
they just don't do it.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm okay being last.
Yeah.
I would love to be first, but I just do it. I'm not competitive enough.
Right.
I'm only competitive with myself.
Right.
I want to do it better than I did the last time.
Yeah.
But I'm basically there I just did it just to stay active, to get healthy, and I'm not looking to podium.
Right.
That's not my goal.
Right. And it's not